Good morning. My name is Derry, and today I want to talk about criticism, how it can impact your art, and how you should respond to it. Now, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to talk about for today until I saw a thread on Twitter, the scary place, kind of dissecting a game I'm very passionate about. Criticism like that doesn't typically make me have a strong response, because I think it's very fair to criticize any kind of product that's financially gaining value, right? It's profitable. Therefore, criticism being directed at it makes sense to me as it can help enhance the experience. Although, today, it wasn't my favorite kind of criticism, and it led me to just wanted to have a nice little discussion about ways that you can handle criticism towards your art, your creation, your media, as I feel a lot more versed in that topic. So, let's say you have spent hours, maybe even days working on a single art piece, whether it be a beautiful song or a lovely illustration. And then you post it online, and it's immediately flooded with a lot of people giving their input. There's going to be people ranging from, "This is amazing, you did a wonderful job," very positive words, and people saying, "I don't like it. Kind of smelly." Which doesn't make sense, but anyways, many forms of criticism that are going to be directed your way are going to be in varying degrees of productive to blatantly unhelpful. And anything someone says about your piece, your medium, can be seen as a form of criticism, a form of, just feedback that can either help or stagnate your growth. I try to look at every single piece of feedback I get, whether it's positive or negative, as a opportunity to try to grow myself. If it's positive, it means I'm going in the right direction. If it's negative, there's probably areas I should improve upon. And I have a million frustrations and complaints with the artwork I produce every day. However, you can't let yourself get bogged down in those details. But what do you do when the criticism you're being provided with isn't very helpful? Aspects of unhelpful criticism is just very blatantly denouncing, "Hey, I didn't like this," or "That's good." What kind of feedback can you really derive from that? For comments like that, I highly suggest you just say, "Okay, I guess you thought it was good, or you thought it was bad. Have fun with that." And you're not going to be able to control the criticism and feedback coming your way. You won't be able to get people to give you very thought-provoking, open discourse all the time. You'll post something you will spend ages on, and someone might just respond, "Haha, funny, when is this coming out?" And that's absolutely fine. We can't control that. What we can control is how we respond to these criticisms. So, when someone has a very in-depth, heartfelt criticism to a piece of art you have made, they've analytically broken it down. They're like, "Hey, your proportions are a mess. There's no rhythm to your music. Just completely dissect it." I think it's good to take a moment to step back before reacting with your emotional side and just try to break into the rational one. A good thing to consider is, do you value this feedback? I'm not saying I recommend people to immediately ignore any feedback they're granted. People that aren't professionals will grant their feedback unsolicited, and oftentimes it can feel that you're not a professional in this field. You don't have a clear understanding of what makes something coherent. You don't have a clear understanding of what makes something better. However, in the art field, you are making content typically for a general consumer. In my opinion, that means that when average Billy John Joe leaves his little message, 9-year-old Billy just says, "Hi, I don't like how you made the unicorns have two horns, because when they have one horn, they're a unicorn, and that makes them not a unicorn." That's a horrible example. I am so sorry. But yeah, I think just discrediting feedback from someone solely on the basis that they're not a professional is going to hold you back a little bit. it's good to listen to what your general consumer, your general, person is going to think of it, because they're a big portion of the demographic you're targeting your artwork to. Whether you're intending to produce it for them or not, you are still in a position of they're the ones consuming it. And if you want to take the fields professionally, it's very advisable to have a good understanding of how to separate good feedback from useless feedback. Using a harsh word like useless, I'm not a big fan of doing that, but honestly, there is a mountain of feedback that you will receive in your life that won't really aid you in any way. So getting lost in that, getting trapped in that loop of an echo chamber where bad words or just, I don't like this, why are you doing it like this, can really just stunt your growth. You see, in the art field, whether it be you're creating literature, performing a song, or painting a silly picture, you are going to be growing, and you don't stop. There's always room to grow. That is something I wholeheartedly believe, and I think the saddest event to see is someone who's satisfied with not growing. That being said, I keep saying, how do you differentiate these kinds of feedback? Well, first, you need to really just experiment with it. Say, hey, what can I take from this? Little Billy John Joe said, skulls are bad. My mom said so. Maybe you can try characterizing it a bit more, stylizing it more. Or perhaps you don't care what Billy John Joe's mom says, so you double down. Get petty. Draw every skull you can from every angle. Create a mountain of skulls. Say, hey, Billy John Joe, I love skulls. And your mom? I hate her. No, don't tell that to Billy John Joe. That's rude. That's rude. But you understand what I'm trying to say, I hope. You are the one that sets the line of what's going to be valuable and what's not. And it's good to start off open to everything. And along the way, understand what can actually push you in the right direction. And there's an inverse effect where a lot of people that aren't professionals will blabber on and tell you feedback that won't actually be productive. While at the same time, there can be professionals that can give you feedback that steers you in the wrong direction. Your journey is going to be very specific to you and your tastes and how you pursue this career. Or, this hobby, of course. You really need to be in control and have a good understanding of what will help you achieve what you want to. I can't be the one to tell you what that means because your journey is different from mine. And I feel that's very consistent across most people. Everyone has a different idea of what it looks like to excel. Everyone has a different idea of what it looks like to create an amazing piece of artwork, whether it be a thumbnail, a video, a podcast, literacy, music, a drawing. There's self-expression, and it's integral to learn how to evolve. So, yeah, I hope everyone just takes their opportunity to grow wholeheartedly. That's about most of my ramblings for today. That's the most productive manner I can kind of talk about it. Oh, actually, I guess I could give some examples of how I handle criticism. At first, I was very unhealthy with how I handled criticism. If someone said something negative or anything positive, essentially if I received any feedback of any kind when I was drawing initially, I would tear the entire page in half and just start ripping it. I'd say, all right, not good enough. Need to start over. That is a very unhealthy mindset. However, I saw that through a different lens. I didn't see, hey, someone said something bad, so I must be worth nothing and need to tear this up. I actually saw it as, I'm in a position where I'm not attached to the pieces I'm making enough. To the point where if I rip this in two, it doesn't impact me in the slightest. I can always make another piece. So I did that more as a theatrical display of, I'm ready to move on from the errors of this piece. But it doesn't come off that way, so I made a lot of friends very upset. Now I just kind of save all my pieces like that in my photos library, and it's just an endless brick of, work in progress is, which I think is pretty common. But how did I move past that phase? Over time, I became very analytical with how I studied art and how I could study my own and compare and contrast what I was doing wrong and what others were doing right. In a way, I became my own critique. And I think that experience, that knowledge, is very insightful for many people that haven't done it yet. It allows you to sympathize more with what people are trying to say and allows you to try to fill in the gaps between their maybe less productive forms of criticism. Like, hey, this is bad, I don't like this. Trying to imagine what aspect of it they don't like instead of having a couple hour long intake of information is a lot quicker, a lot more expedient, and a lot more fruitful for you. And that kept evolving over and over. I will say I have been very fortunate, very blessed with the feedback I have been witness to. A lot of people, when they give criticism to my artwork, I take it immediately and act upon it with haste, or I say, yeah, I see what you mean. And it doesn't really extend further than that. I haven't really had a massive spike of hatred towards any of my pieces in particular, and I have many friends that have experienced that. It can be crippling for some. And, going into any kind of medium with that mindset of just trying to have fun with it, trying to accept the punches that are thrown your way and accept that that's a part of the cycle, it really helps you in the long run. Whenever I get criticism now, I take it wholeheartedly and I act on it quickly. But first, I make sure to go through the effort of seeing if this unsolicited criticism is going to be of any value. If I sought it out, it is going to immediately be of value, because I asked you for your input, which means I need to have the care and the compassion to accept whatever you throw at me. All right. I hope you had a wonderful morning. This is Derry, signing off. Goodbye.